Welcome to Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like to hear new book summaries.
We're excited to jump into this one.
I have to admit, when I first picked up the book we're covering today, I had a visceral reaction to the title. It actually made me a little defensive.
That is a very honest place to start, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. What was it about the title that triggered you?
It's just one word. Push. The book is Push. Unlock the Science of Fitness Motivation to Embrace Health and Longevity by Dr. Jordan D. Metzl. And honestly, in the current climate where we talk so much about burnout, cortisol levels, and listening to your body, the command to push feels, I don't know, aggressive? It reminds me of those high school coaches who scream at you until you vomit. It feels like a relic of the no pain, no gain era.
You are definitely not alone in that reaction.
Yeah.
We've seen a massive cultural swing away from that militaristic style of fitness toward a softer, intuitive approach.
Right.
And for good reason, burnout is real. But this is exactly why Dr. Metzl wrote this book. He argues that we've ceded the concept of push to the extremists. We've allowed it to become a dirty word associated with punishment, shame, or inadequacy.
So he wants to reclaim the word.
Exactly. He wants to rebrand push. He argues that biological stagnation is actually far more dangerous than effort. In this context, push isn't about punishment. It's about activation.
Okay, activation. I like that.
It's a tool for progress. It's about moving from a state of sadness or stagnation into a state of joy. And frankly, he has the credibility to make this argument because he isn't just a fitness influencer.
Right. Let's establish who he is, because that changed my perspective, too. He's a sports medicine physician at the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City.
Which is a top-tier institution.
A very big deal, yeah.
It is. He treats over 50,000 patients, ranging from professional athletes to 80-year-olds who have never exercised. So he sees the broken bodies that result from pushing too hard, but he also sees the decaying bodies that result from not pushing at all.
And he's a marathoner himself, right? And a fitness instructor. So he lives this stuff. He's not just in an ivory tower.
No, he's in the trenches. He lives in this world. And the central premise he lays out is something I think we all intellectually understand, but, emotionally struggle with.
Definitely.
He says the problem isn't knowledge. Most people know that they should exercise.
Oh, for sure. If knowledge were the key, we would all be Olympians. We are drowning in information.
Exactly. We know exercise is good for the heart, the brain, the waistline. The gap isn't knowledge, the gap is motivation. We struggle with the why and the how of getting started.
And that's the mission of the book.
That's the mission. To decode why we fall out of love with movement, which he argues is a natural human state, and how to use the science of motivation to fall back in love with it.
And he starts this investigation with a story that really anchors the entire book. It's the story of a patient named Alice. And I want to slow down here because this isn't your typical before and after weight loss anecdote. This is much heavier.
It is. Alice serves as the emotional heartbeat of the introduction. She was a college professor, extremely sharp in her late 60s. And in a span of just 2 years, her entire infrastructure for living just collapsed.
It's just one thing after another. First, she lost her husband.
Which is trauma enough for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Right. But then, shortly after, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So she is mourning her life partner while simultaneously facing her own mortality. She fell into what Dr. Metzl describes as a point of pointlessness.
That phrase really stuck with me, the point of pointlessness. It's so bleak.
It's a profound state of deep depression where the logic of survival simply shuts down. She still told Dr. Metzl that she just didn't see the point of anything anymore.
Wow.
And this is crucial for you to understand. When someone is in that state, you cannot use logic. You can't say, hey, Alice, you should go for a jog because it will improve your cardiovascular markers.
It sounds insulting, honestly. It treats her like a machine that needs oil rather than a human being whose world has just completely ended.
Precisely. And this is where Dr. Metzl introduces a concept that I think is transforming modern healthcare: narrative medicine.
I've heard this term floated around, but I always assumed it just meant having a good bedside manner. Is it more technical than that?
It is much more distinct. The traditional approach is the biomedical model. You come in with a broken part of knee, a valve, a tumor. The doctor's job is to fix the part.
A mechanics approach.
A mechanics approach,
yeah.
Exactly. Narrative medicine, which was pioneered at Columbia University, argues that you cannot treat the part without understanding the story of the life that the part supports.
Okay, so in Alice's case, she eventually came to see him for knee pain, right? That was the part
Yes. A strict biomedical doctor would say, here is an anti-inflammatory, rest the knee for 6 weeks. End of story. But Metzl realized that for Alice, that knee was her lifeline.
It wasn't just a knee.
It was everything. She hadn't sought a miracle cure for her depression. She had just started walking.
She tied her shoes. That's the first step.
She tied her shoes. That walk turned into a slow run. That movement became the only thing tethering her to the world. So think about it. If her knee fails, she stops moving.
If she stops moving, she retreats back into the darkness.
Back to the point of pointlessness.
So the knee is a load-bearing wall for her entire mental health.
Exactly. Metzl writes, and this is a direct quote, that the world is literally a better place when Alice's knee works. Because when she moves, she feels alive. When she feels alive, she engages with her community. Narrative medicine treats the biography, not just the biology.
And the result for Alice wasn't just that her knee felt better. She didn't just go back to walking.
No, she kept pushing. At age 70, with her cancer and depression in remission, she ran her first marathon.
At 70?
At 70, she's now run 15 marathons. She is in her 80s teaching kettlebell classes.
That is incredible. Just unbelievable. But it highlights such a stark contrast. You have Alice in her 80s finding joy in movement. And then you have the majority of the adult population who treat movement like a chore.
Or a punishment.
Or a punishment, yeah. Dr. Metzl uses this comparison of the 3-year-old versus the adult that I found both hilarious and depressing.
It is a mirror we need to look into. Think about a 3-year-old. You have a nephew that age, right?
Yes. And the kid vibrates. He doesn't walk anywhere. He sprints. He jumps on the bed, not for cardio, but because the bed is bouncy and it's fun.
Movement is their default setting for joy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't exercise. They just exist in motion. Now, contrast that with the average adult. We circle the parking lot for 10 minutes to find the spot closest to the door so we don't have to walk an extra 50 feet.
Guilty.
We all are. We sit in meetings like statues. We get home and sink into the couch.
It feels like a tragedy. When does that shift happen? What's the inflection point?
Metzl points to adolescence. Sometime in our teens, movement stops being play and starts being sports or PE or exercise. It becomes formalized.
It becomes something you can fail at.
Exactly. It becomes a chore. And we shift from moving for joy to avoiding movement at all costs.
And the data he shares is pretty damning.
It is alarming. Only 28% of U.S. adults meet the federal guidelines for both aerobic and muscle strengthening activity.
Wow. That's less than 1 in 3 people.
Less than 1 in 3. And even worse, 65.3 million U.S. adults are considered physically inactive.
So what does that mean exactly? Inactive?
That doesn't just mean they don't go to the gym. It means they engage in basically zero intentional movement beyond what's required for daily living. We have collectively lost our inner 3-year-old.
So the goal of PUSH is to reverse that. But to do that, we have to understand what is stopping us. It's not just laziness, it's biology and psychology. This brings us to what he calls the big list.
The big list is his breakdown of the specific factors that keep us glued to the couch. And number 1 on the list is our own brain. Biases.
Our brain's playing tricks on us.
Constantly. We like to think we are rational actors, but we aren't. We are guided by cognitive shortcuts. One of the biggest barriers to exercise is confirmation bias.
This is where we only look for info that agrees with what we already want to do, right?
You nailed it. If you wake up feeling tired and you don't want to run, your brain will immediately scan for reasons to support that feeling.
Okay, yeah.
You'll remember a headline you saw about how rest days are crucial for recovery. You'll tell yourself, I don't want to overtrain.
Even if I haven't worked out in 3 weeks.
Especially then. Your brain will conveniently ignore the 3 weeks of inactivity and focus on the one piece of data that justifies staying in bed. It's a defense mechanism for your desire to do nothing.
That's painfully relatable. He also talks about the availability heuristic. This one felt very relevant to people who hated gym class.
Oh, absolutely. The availability heuristic means we judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily an example comes to mind.
The most vivid memory.
The most vivid memory. So if your strongest, most available memory of exercise is being picked last for dodgeball in 7th grade or being yelled at by a coach, that memory is right there at the forefront.
It's emotionally charged.
Very. So when you think exercise, your brain screams humiliation, danger, avoid, before you can even consider the health benefits.
Well, we are fighting ghosts from middle school.
In many ways, yes. But we can also use these psychological quirks to our advantage. And this is where the book gets into behavioral economics, which is fascinating.
Right. There were two studies here that I thought were absolutely mind-blowing regarding incentives.
The loss aversion study first.
Oh, the loss aversion study. I want to dig into the math on this because it seems so counterintuitive.
It is the classic example of how irrational we are. So researchers took a group of heart disease patients, again, people who need to walk to survive.
The stakes are as high as they get.
Exactly. They split them into two groups. Group A was the gain group. They were told, if you meet your step goal today, we will give you $1.40.
Which is about $42 a month. Not life-changing money, but a nice little bonus. A few cups of coffee.
Right. Who does want an extra $40? But Group B was the loss group, the researchers told them. We've put $42 into an account in your name. It is yours. However, for every day you miss your step goal, we are going to take $1.40 away.
Okay, so logically, mathematically, it is the exact same amount of money. $1.40 a day.
It is identical. But the results were not. The group that stood to lose the money achieved their step goals significantly more often.
How much more often?
About 50% more often than the group that stood to gain it.
That's a huge difference. Why? Why does our brain care so much more about losing $1.40 than gaining it?
It's evolutionary. This is Kahneman and Tversky's prospect theory. For our ancestors, losing a day's worth of food meant death. Finding an extra day's worth of food was just a good day. The pain of loss is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of gain.
Twice as powerful. Wow.
So our brains are hardwired to protect what we have, far more than to acquire something new.
So if I'm listening to this and I can't get motivated, Dr. Metzl is saying I should stop promising myself a reward.
He's suggesting you might get better results if you set up a penalty. There are actually apps for this, where if you miss your workout, the app automatically donates your money to a political party you oppose or a charity you hate.
That is diabolical and brilliant.
It's effective. It hacks your brain's fear of loss.
The other strategy he mentions is temptation bundling.
Huh?
This involved the Hunger Games, which I thought was just perfect.
This was a study done at the University of Pennsylvania. They took people who wanted to exercise more but struggled to actually do it. They gave them iPods loaded with highly addictive audiobooks, thrillers like The Hunger Games.
But there was a catch.
The catch was they were only allowed to listen to the book while they were at the gym. They put the iPods in a locker at the gym. You couldn't take it home.
So if you want to know if Katniss survives the arena, you have to get on the elliptical.
Precisely. And gym attendance shot up by 51%. Because the motivation wasn't, I need to work out. The motivation was, I need to know what happens next. They bundled a temptation, the story, with the chore, exercise.
I love that because it removes the willpower. You aren't forcing yourself to exercise. You are allowing yourself to indulge in a story. It's a reframe.
Completely reframes the experience. But Dr. Metzl is careful to point out that while these hacks are great for kickstarting a habit, sustainable motivation requires a deeper structure.
Right, the tricks wear off.
They do. And this is where he brings in the triad: knowledge, emotion, and belief.
And he uses a literal prop for the knowledge part, the rock.
Yes. He holds up a rock in his lectures and says, unless you live under this, you know exercise is good for you. The point is, knowledge doesn't change behavior.
And he has the perfect example for this.
He sees patients who have had heart attacks, which is the ultimate wake-up call, right?
Yeah.
They are prescribed medications that they know will prevent a second heart attack. And yet, compliance is terribly low. People stop taking the pills.
That is baffling. It's literally life or death.
It proves that logic is not the driver of human behavior. If we want to change, we need the other two parts of the triad: emotion and belief.
Let's talk about emotion, because usually the emotion associated with exercise is dread or guilt. But he tells the story of a woman named Randy to show how negative emotions can actually be fuel.
Randy's a powerful example. She was a busy mom, overweight, no real exercise routine, typical story. She fell and broke her ankle. And while she was sitting there, cast up, immobilized, she was hit with this tsunami of negative emotion.
Not just pain.
No, it was anger, sadness, regret. She realized that if she had been stronger or lighter or more agile, the fall might not have broken her bone.
That's a heavy realization, taking responsibility for it in that moment.
It is. But instead of wallowing, she let that anger ignite her. She decided right then and there, this is the new me. The emotion, the raw feeling of, I want to change, became the spark.
So knowledge is I should. Emotion is I want.
Exactly. The I want is 1,000,000 times more powerful.
Yeah. But what if you don't have a broken ankle? What if you don't have a traumatic rock bottom moment? Do you have to wait for a crisis?
No, and Metzl says you shouldn't. That's a reactive way to live. He says you can weaponize curiosity. And this brings us to the concept of VOI versus ROI.
We all know ROI, return on investment, that's usually financial. What is VOI?
Value on investment, it's intangible. It's morale, energy, longevity, mood. Before you start a routine, you have to ask yourself a serious question. Is this worth my time? And the answer is deeply personal.
Right. It's not one size fits all.
Not at all. For some, the VOI of a Peloton in the basement is huge because it's efficient, it fits their life. For others, it's zero because they hate cycling and it would just become a very expensive coat rack.
He mentions forest bathing here, too.
Shinrin-yoku, the Japanese practice of simply being in nature. If you believe that walking in the woods heals you, then the VOI is high. And this connects perfectly to the third part of the triad, belief.
This was the part of the book where I felt Dr. Metzl was most generous. He introduces the 4 boxes of wellness.
This framework is so helpful for navigating the wild west of the wellness industry.
Okay, break it down for us.
So box 1 is science-validated and beneficial. Things like antibiotics, vaccines, exercise, sleep, these are no-brainers.
Got it.
Box 2 is validated but risky. The best example is chemotherapy. We know it works to kill cancer, but it also really hurts the body.
Right. A necessary evil in some cases. Then we get into the gray areas.
Box 3. This is the big one. Not validated by hard science, but might help. This is where you find supplements, acupuncture, specific diets, copper bracelets, you name it.
And box 4.
Box 4 is the snake oil. Not validated, definitely won't help, and might even be harmful.
Now, as a man of science, a physician at a top hospital, I expected him to trash box 3. I expected him to say, if it's not peer-reviewed, don't do it.
But he doesn't. And this is the nuance. This is the wisdom of the book. He says, look, if you buy a fancy, expensive water bottle that claims to ionize your water, even if the science is complete nonsense.
Which it probably is.
Almost certainly. But if holding that bottle makes you feel like an athlete, if it makes you drink more water, do it.
Because the belief drives the action.
Exactly. He is essentially endorsing the placebo effect as a motivational tool. If believing in the special fox or the healing crystals gives you the I can do this mindset, then it has value. The biology might be neutral, but the psychology is positive.
That is so freeing. It gives us permission to be a little irrational if it gets us moving.
And that's the whole point.
Okay, I want to pivot to the deep science of the book now. We've talked about getting started. Now we need to talk about why we need to keep going for decades. The longevity puzzle.
This is where we need to introduce a term that might be new to our listeners. Muscle span.
We know lifespan, which is just the number of years you're alive, and we're hearing more about healthspan, which is the years you're healthy and vital. But muscle span, what is that?
Muscle span is the maintenance of muscle mass and quality over time. And Dr. Metzl argues that this is the single most underappreciated factor in aging well. Because muscle is not just for lifting things, it is an endocrine organ.
I feel like we need to unpack that. When I think of an endocrine organ, I think of the thyroid or the pancreas. I don't think of my biceps.
That is the old way of thinking. For a long time, anatomy books just treated muscle as the leverage system to move bones. But in the last 20 years, we've discovered that skeletal muscle is chemically active. When you contract a muscle, when you do a squat or lift a weight, it secretes chemicals called myokines.
Myokines. Okay, what are they doing?
Think of myokines as text messages sent from your muscles to the rest of your body. They travel through your bloodstream, they go to the brain and trigger the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like fertilizer for your brain cells.
So exercise is literally making your brain healthier.
Directly. These myokines also travel to the liver to regulate fat metabolism. They signal the immune system to reduce inflammation. So when you are sedentary, you are effectively cutting the phone lines. Your organs stop talking to each other effectively.
That is a wild image, a silent body. But he also uses another analogy that really helped me understand the metabolic side. He calls muscle a hard drive for glucose.
This is the crucial mechanism for understanding type 2 diabetes and what he calls inflammaging. Okay, imagine you eat a bagel. Those carbs turn into glucose or sugar in your blood.
Right.
Your pancreas releases insulin to usher that sugar out of the bloodstream because high blood sugar is toxic over time.
So the insulin is the usher. Where does it take the sugar?
It has 3 main options for storage.
Right.
The liver, fat cells, or muscle. Now, muscle is by far the largest storage facility, the largest hard drive for glycogen, which is stored sugar, in the body.
It's a warehouse.
Exactly. The biggest warehouse you have. Now, imagine a person with low mass, poor muscle span. They have a tiny warehouse. They eat the bagel. The insulin knocks on the door of the muscle, but the warehouse is full.
So the sugar has nowhere to go.
It gets backed up, it stays in the blood, or gets shunted to visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs, and the liver. This leads to insulin resistance. The pancreas has to scream louder, meaning make more insulin, just to get the job done.
And this creates a bigger problem.
It creates a state of chronic systemic inflammation.
And that inflammation drives disease.
It drives everything: heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's. Metzl calls this inflammaging aging accelerated by inflammation. So when Dr. Metzl tells a 70-year-old woman to do squats, he isn't trying to help her look good in the swimsuit.
No.
He's trying to build a bigger metabolic warehouse. He's trying to give the glucose a safe place to go so it doesn't rot her arteries from the inside out.
That completely reframes the why. It's not vanity, it's building a metabolic shield for your future self.
It is a reserve. You are building the armor that will protect your organs when you are 80.
That is a powerful motivator. But even with that knowledge, the act of doing it alone is hard. And this brings us to the secret weapon on the big list. The thing he says might be most important of all: community.
Humans are obligate social animals. We evolved to move in tribes. Doing hard things alone is biologically taxing. Metzl shares a story about his iron strength community that illustrates this perfectly.
This was the pandemic workout, right?
Yes, January 2021, peak COVID winter. It was 25 degrees Fahrenheit in Central Park, freezing cold.
And yet over 100 people showed up.
Why? Why would they do that? They didn't show up for the squats. They could do squats in their warm living rooms. They showed up for the shared experience. There's something profoundly bonding about shared suffering.
It's like basic training in the military. Suffering together creates a bond that nothing else can.
It does. But psychologically, it creates an identity shift. This is the pivot. When you exercise alone, your internal monologue is often, I am a person trying to force myself to exercise.
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle. But when you are in a group, shivering and moving together, the monologue shifts to, we are athletes. I am doing this.
It changes, I try to, I am.
Yes. And Metzl's advice here is brilliant. If you can't push yourself, find a group that will pull you along. Outsource your willpower to the collective.
I love that. If you can't push, let them pull.
So, we've covered the biases, the incentives, the deep biology of myokines, and the sociology of community. Now, we need the prescription. How do we actually do this? What's step one?
Metzl's rule is refreshingly simple. Do something as should. Adjust as needed.
We tend to overcomplicate it, don't we? We wait for the perfect plan, the perfect shoes, the perfect moment.
We do. We get analysis paralysis. We think we need the right app, the perfect block of time. Metzl says no. Action precedes motivation. You don't wait to feel like doing it. You do it and then the feelings follow. But he also warns us about the middle part. He says everyone is excited at the start and everyone is excited when they see the finish line. But the middle, that's where dreams die.
The middle is the grind. It's the Tuesday morning in November when it's raining and you're tired and no one is cheering for you. Motivation is gone.
Yeah.
And here, Metzl borrows a concept from the financial world, the Bogle method.
Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard, the index fund guy, what does he have to do with fitness?
The very same. Bogle's philosophy was, don't try to beat the market, don't chase hot stocks, just buy the whole market in an index fund and hold it forever. It is incredibly boring.
And incredibly effective.
And incredibly effective. Metzl applies this to fitness.
So fitness should be boring. Yeah. That sounds terrible.
Consistency should be boring. Metzl says, be bored by the process, elated by the outcome. If you are constantly looking for your workout to be fun or entertaining, you will quit when it gets dull, because it will.
That's a good point.
If you accept that it is just a routine, like brushing your teeth, you stick with it. It doesn't require inspiration. It just requires showing up.
That is actually really comforting. I don't need to be inspired every day. I just need to be consistent.
Exactly. Let the results be exciting, not the process.
And to remove the last barrier, the I don't have equipment or I don't know what to do excuse, he provides the 50-word workout template.
This is proof that complexity is the enemy of execution. The workout is so simple. It is.
Let's hear it.
Upper body for 1 minute, then rest for 1 minute. Lower body for 1 minute, rest 1 minute. Core for 1 minute, rest 1 minute. And a total body burner like jumping jacks for 1 minute, then rest.
And you just repeat that.
Repeat it 3 times. That's a full workout in under 25 minutes.
And you just fill in the blanks. Push-ups for upper body, squats for lower body, sit-ups for core.
Exactly. Simple, effective, no excuses.
And he makes a point here about beginner exercises that I really appreciated. He hates that term.
He does. He says there are no beginner exercises, only fitness levels. A squat is a squat. Whether you are Alice doing her first sit-to-stand from a chair or LeBron James warming up with a barbell on his back.
The biomechanics are the same.
The biomechanics are the same, the intensity changes, but the movement is dignified at every single level.
I think that removes so much shame for people just starting out. You aren't doing a baby version. You are doing the fundamental human movement at your current capacity.
You're just on a different point on the same continuum. That's all.
So we're coming to the end here. And we have to address the elephant in the room, fear. Dr. Metzl acknowledges that for a lot of people, the gym is a terrifying place. The fear of failure, of looking stupid, is real.
It is. Vulnerability is a huge barrier. But this brings us back to item number 8 on the big list. Control. Agency. You have to realize that you have autonomy. You are choosing to be there. No one is forcing you.
Taking back your power in that situation.
Absolutely. And he challenges us to be deprivation curious.
I love that phrase, but it sounds paradoxical. Usually, deprivation is bad.
In this context, it means depriving yourself of the easy way out. He asks, can you weaponize your curiosity? Instead of doom scrolling on your phone, can you get curious about what your body is actually capable of if you didn't stop when it got uncomfortable?
It turns the pain into an experiment. It's data collection, not suffering.
Exactly. We usually stop at the first sign of discomfort. Our brain screams, stop. But what lies beyond that? What if you ran for one more minute? What if you did one more rep? He wants us to be curious about our own potential.
That gives me chills. It's such a powerful reframe. And it brings us full circle back to Alice.
It does. The final call to action in the book is a choice. You can be the person under the black cloud, convinced that life is pointless. Or you can be Alice. You can tie your shoes. You can open the door.
The work will eventually make you smile.
That is the promise. It might not smile today. It might not smile tomorrow. But eventually, the movement creates the joy. The action precedes the feeling.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am feeling a very strong urge to go build my metabolic warehouse.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to go send some myokine text messages to my brain.
There you go. Thank you so much for breaking this down with me. This has been a really motivating deep dive into Push by Jordan D. Metzl, MD.
Always a pleasure to explore the science of us.
And to our listeners, thank you for sticking with us. The choice is yours today. And remember to subscribe and like the Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel to hear new book summaries. We'll see you in the next deep dive.